Hey guys, Jonathan Fields from jonathanfields.com and also the author of Uncertainty. Go get your copy now. But today I'm here with a buddy of mine, somebody who is named Shawn Platt. And you probably know Shawn from around like various web properties. One of them is Writer Dad, there's Ghostwriter Dad, there's Collective Inkwell, which is an online publishing house. And he's also doing some really fascinating stuff in the online publishing space and pushing some buttons, pushing some envelopes, and potentially creating a completely new paradigm in how people can not only write books but distribute them and make some serious money. So we're going to get into that over the next couple of minutes here. Welcome, Shawn.
Hey, great to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, so you've kind of been all over the place on the web, especially this week, because people are really taking notice because you're doing something really different. And when most people think about online publishing now, and everybody's talking about self-publishing, they think, well, like I write a book, I somehow format it for Kindle and for Nook and for all this stuff. I put it up, it takes me whatever months and however long to write my full book. I'm done with it, and then I pray. And
that's the model.
Yeah. Apparently, you're taking a very different approach. So, fill us in. What are you doing, and why? Like, why not just go the traditional route?
Well, I started writing online because I wanted to write fiction, and that kind of took a back seat for a long time because I had bills to pay. And at the time, fiction paid approximately nothing. And so, sales copy paid, blog copy paid, just basic copywriting paid. So that's kind of where I had to put my focus. But at the beginning of this year, when we started, Kindle just crushed it last Christmas. And when those numbers came in January, it was game over for me. I knew, okay, now here's a way for me to make the money that I want to make doing the work I want to do.
And the numbers you're talking about are the number of Kindles sold, or?
The number of Kindles sold, but more importantly, the number of downloads. And it was really easy to see this isn't like a one-time thing. This is going to be recurring. It's only going to grow. And right then, that January, I thought, okay, this year needs to be preparing for next January. And that's pretty much how I spent the year and how I plan to spend the next few months.
Okay, but when you say preparing for next January, so most people would look at this and say, I need to write a book. And they outline, they figure out what they want to write. They spend the next year to 18 months or whatever it takes writing like a 300 to 500 page book and doing all this different stuff. And then, but you completely...
Well, I think that's a waste of time. I mean, I actually put out several books this year, and I didn't spend any time marketing them because I knew I would be wasting my time. I have a really great book that I co-wrote with the same writer that I've done the serialized fiction with, David Wright, and we wrote a book called Available Darkness. I love this book. I think it's fantastic, but I knew it would be a waste of my time to market it because it's $2.99 on Kindle. I could potentially spend a few months marketing it, do really well, and so what? I split 70% of $2.99 with a partner. That's a lot of books I need to move if that's my full-time job is promoting that.
But what about John Locke and Amanda Hocking, like the huge names that have gone out and sold huge volumes? I mean, are they just freaky aberrations or?
No, they're not freaky aberrations, but look at the common denominator. They all have multiple titles, right? So I had multiple titles. I had 5 books as of August, but they were in 4 different markets. So I may as well have had one. And there's just no point to that. If you look at John Locke, excuse me, if you look at John Locke in his book, How I Sold 1.1 Million, he didn't even start marketing until he had 5 books out.
Right.
Because it would be a waste of his time. And that's it. You need to build critical mass because the worst thing you can do as a writer is get your reader to fall in love with you and you have no place for them to go. And I didn't want to do that. I knew that my time was better spent instead of marketing, that it was spent writing because every asset I make is something I have forever. So
you go from there though, and rather than saying, well, let me just write, three to 500 page books as quickly as humanly possible, you're like, no, let me completely change the paradigm around this because, it's, I don't know why you did it. Well, explain what you did and why you did it.
Well, the entrepreneur in me I have no problem with the 99-cent model. I understand it. That's the other common denominator between, these people who are really pushing a lot of downloads out there, they have 99-cent titles. I was not willing to write several 99-cent titles at a few hundred pages each. I didn't think the time was worth it. I didn't think the payoff was there. But so what I did is and by I mean my partner too. He actually came up with the premise for our story Yesterday's Gone. But we thought, how can we get 5 or 6 titles out there by Christmas without writing 5 or 6 titles? And then we thought, well, we'll write one, but we'll serialize it. And it's not that we just took because we had tried serializing a story before. Our vampire book, Available Darkness, that I mentioned, had actually been a serialized project. And we published a new episode every Friday online for like a year. But it wasn't a true serial. It was just a book broken into pieces.
Okay.
The way we did Yesterday's Gone, we actually
so what's Yesterday's Gone for people that are supposed to be?
Yesterday's Gone is our brand new serialized project.
Okay, and I want to break down even more, because there'll be some people that are like, oh yeah, serialized fiction, but there are going to be some people like, what is serialized fiction? So,
well, serialized fiction is, the first guy to do it was Charles Dickens, and that was a couple hundred years ago. So we didn't really invent anything new, but we took something really old-fashioned and made it really, really modern. Because the way we constructed our books, it's not like a traditional book. It's more like serialized television. Dexter, Breaking Bad, Sopranos, Lost. It's very, in fact, if I was going to take one TV show it's most like, I would say Lost by way of Stephen King.
So in my mind, like then the translation on here, it's like I think episodic almost. So it's
very
like
episodic.
It's like each book is like a built-out episode, like with like a beginning, a middle, and end, and then it leads for the next one or something like that.
Absolutely, and it's funny that you say that, because we knew that we really wanted to teach the consumer that this was something cool and different. So one of the things we did is change the language. We didn't call them books. We call each individual 99-cent download is an episode.
Yeah.
And then all the episodes together are a season. So you can buy season 1 of Yesterday's Gone. When we were writing the first episode, internally between Dave and I, we referred to it as our pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And we even wrote like a serialized show where, if they're filming an episode of Dexter, they don't shoot in order. They shoot one scene over here, they shoot one scene over here, and then they put them all together. And that's how we wrote. We wrote scenes. We outlined our scenes, we wrote our scenes, and then we blended them together just like an editor with a TV show.
So then each episode is, you said it's about 100 pages.
Yeah, give or take.
Right. I'm curious, how does that compare? Do you know how long, let's say an hour, like of The Sopranos or something like that? Is it like a page per minute or something like that?
It's a page per minute, yeah, so it'd be about 60 pages, which we're playing with that. Ideally, we think 12 episodes at 40 to 50 pages might be a better fit, but we went with 6 episodes at 100 because we have a lot of characters here, and so we didn't think we'd be able to pull off quite the meat that we wanted to.
Yeah, so, and I guess in the opening ones, you really need to build out the characters in the world so that people can, and maybe like as it goes, you can sort of like experiment with condensing it a bit.
Yeah, it could be a totally different thing. We're already working on season 2, which is awesome. And that's kind of the beauty of this model too, because if you build an audience, then you already have an audience ready, waiting to go when your next stuff comes out, and you don't have to manage that list. Right. Amazon is going to send an email to people who bought season 1, an email, guess what just came out? Yeah. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. That means that your business, you're not just writing stories, you're building a scalable business.
Right.
And so we approached it exactly like television. Our openings are really important to us, but most important are the cliffhangers. Every single episode ends with an awesome cliffhanger that pushes you as the reader into reading the next thing.
Right. But simultaneously, you also have to kind of like come full circle with whatever the current story is in the current episode, and then like open the lead for the next one. So you're not leaving people hanging. It's like what you said. It's not like what you did the first time where it's kind of like one story split into 5 pieces. Each one is like a complete experience. Where you leave feeling like, you're like, I get it. But then like at the very end, you're like teasing, but there's more, Like,
yes. So, and we think and it's a funnel too. Most books don't come with a funnel, and we intelligently laid out our funnel. We went, right now everything's 99 cents, but that's temporary. Mm-hmm. The pilot will always be 99 cents, and ideally we'd actually like to make it free. And then the episodes are $1.99. Then the full season is $4.99. But anyone who knows anything about Kindle publishing knows your sweet spot is $2.99 and over. Right. Because Amazon keeps 70% of your revenue for anything that's under $2.99. So we don't want 99-cent downloads because there's just so little profit there. But we want people to buy the full season. So if you buy episode 1 and 2 and then don't buy the full season, we didn't do our job. We want episode 1 to be so awesome that when you're done with that, you're like, yeah, and then you buy. And so far, it's awesome to look at our sales numbers on Amazon because we're not selling any episodes 3, 4, 5, or 6. None.
Right.
Everyone goes straight from 1 to season or straight from 2 to season. And that's awesome.
So let's talk about, I mean, I love the business model. I love that you're pushing the envelope, and I'm really curious to, like, looking back, you know, like, we'll have a conversation a year from now, and I can't wait for that conversation where we're looking back, we're like, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, and and there's a potential that we're going to be having this conversation, and I'm going to be, like, emailing you, and your person is going to be like, well, you know, Shawn's booked on this, this, and this, so we can set something up 2 months from now. But I actually want to talk about the books themselves, because this is a really fascinating shift in the business model for writers, and potentially a radical change in the idea. But talk to me about the book itself, right? So the series is it's called Yesterday's Gone.
Yeah, it's the premise is this group of people, they woke up and the world is gone. It's just missing. They have no idea why. They have no clue where everybody went. But they wake up and there's 6 different characters, so 6 different point of views. And I write 3 of them, and Dave writes 3 of them, and then we blend it together. And what was really cool with the pilot was we didn't know. The reason Dave came up with this particular premise was because we could write it fast. If we're making up the world, we could do anything we want, and we didn't have to build in a lot of back mythology. We could basically just make it up as we went along on that pilot, and then kind of regroup and see where we wanted to go with the full season.
Right.
And you know, it was like in Lost, where, you know, at the end of season 1, they knew they had the hatch, but they didn't know what was in the hatch, so they had to just kind of like buy time over summer. It was like that. And so it's dark. I mean, if you don't like Stephen King, you're not gonna like it. If you don't like serialized television, you're not gonna like it. But if you like stuff that's really, really awesome, you'll love it. And it was a lot of fun to write. And one of the best surprises of this, I mean, besides the fact that my business model and my creativity are finally in harmony, which I love. But what's really cool about this project is that we started out and we decided we wanted to write something awesome, but pretty trashy. You know, the idea was it was about reader experience. We wanted to give the reader the best possible experience. But we weren't trying to do literature here. It was how entertaining can it be and how much are they going to want to read the next one? That was our focus. But what happened is we wrote fast and we wrote furious and we wrote well. And the end product is so much more than I ever expected. I ended up with the best thing I've ever done. I'm really, really proud of it. I can't wait to hit season 2.
That's awesome. I can't wait to dive into this also. I haven't been reading anything unless it's like mandatory, because I've just been out of my own stuff. But now I've had like all of your whole series just kind of, I'm like waiting because I want to just devour it all, you know, like pretty rapidly. So I figured I would give myself a little bit of time to dive into it. So the storyline sounds really cool. I love the fact that it's kind of like edgy, that you're basically going out there and saying we're going to find the sweet spot between what we can build a really serious business around, but also create some really kick-ass writing, like some phenomenal experiences that draw people in and like whisk them along, and literally, because I love that. That's kind of like that's my pleasure reading style. I think that would resonate with so many people, and I'm so kind of like interested to see where this goes.
Well, that's what's good too. It's bite-sized, you know, and to answer your question from a long time ago, why didn't you write 4 or 500 page book? I think that there is a certain type of person, and I think they have Kindles, who just wants fast. They want bite-sized content. They want just a little nugget at a time. And it's not just that these are 100 pages, it's that these are 100 pages designed to go fast. They're designed to just like keep you there and keep you turning. And I think that that's exciting for people. And that's why we don't all have time to just sit there and luxuriate in our reading. We want it fast. We want to get juiced.
So I love this. So I'm going to I'll drop some links to so that people can check out the series below. One last question. You also created you created trailers, or at least one trailer that I've seen. I think you've actually created maybe more than one. And then and your covers are like real covers.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for saying that. Yeah, the aesthetic was really important to us because, we're visual people, right? And I think that one of the problems that self-publishing faces is that there is a perceived lack of quality, you know, because, and there is a lot. With self-publishing, there is a lot of garbage, and you have to rise to the top. You have to be better. And that was our baseline. It didn't look traditionally published. It wasn't good enough. if it didn't read traditionally published, it wasn't good enough. Like, we don't want there to be that distinction where, is this self-published? No, we're published, and it's great. And so the aesthetic was really important in that. And I just have to say, I'm really, really, really lucky that I have Dave, because he's an artist. So he's our visual guy. I mean, he did all the covers and they look great. He did the trailer and it looks great. And yeah, we're going to do something cool with the trailers. We're probably going to do one a week, and we're going to do them like character-based. Because the cool thing is, as cool as the story is, it really does hinge on the characters. I mean, Lost is cool when they're all on an island, but it's really the character work that makes that show so special.
Right.
And so we paid a lot of attention to the characters. So we want to do some character-based trailers. But yeah, the visuals were really important to us, and we think that it helps sell. And if you look at a lot of self-published trailers, they're just not very good.
It's not even limited to self-published. You look at a lot of the trailers that come out of big houses and big authors are horrible.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I was resistant to doing a trailer until.
Dude, your trailer is off the hook, though. Your trailer is so good.
I mean, which it kind of circles back to a question that we started out with. Was, so in the beginning, you wrote this big book, and you're like, I'm not even going to bother marketing this. Now you've got a really fascinating set of episodes that are sort of like tailor-made, and you're jazzed about, you love, they're powerful, and you really want to market them. Once a book, and we know this, right? Once your book gains an audience, the word of mouth is everything. Then it gains its own momentum, and it starts to feed, the beast feeds itself. But you have to hit that critical mass. So now that you have something that you feel is worthy of pushing to the point of critical mass, how are you going to get there?
That's another great question. I just need to get the pilot in as many hands as possible. So if you think about it, if you're in the online space, it's your opt-in, right? Your lead magnet, whatever you have that people want. That's what I want. I want everybody to have the pilot, which if I can get it for free, that would be awesome, because I'm confident enough in the story that once people read the pilot, they'll want the full thing. So the matter is just getting it in as many hands as possible. Well, this isn't an information product where I could, go to somebody's list and say, hey, let's make a deal and they'll mail for me. It's not like that. I need to get it in the hands of actual readers, which is hard because, I'm a ghostwriter, or I was a ghostwriter, so I spent a lot of time doing that for other people, but I don't have those connections. I don't have that network. I don't have the 10,000 readers. That's our number. We want to hit 10,000 readers by Christmas.
Right.
And so I don't have that network. So we're targeting the influencers. We're making sure that, and so far that's gone well, but we really need to kick it into high gear. I'm doing a lot of this type of stuff. We're interviewing with my friends and people that I know and have networked with before. We were on Jane Friedman and Copy Blogger, and that's all good. I don't think there's any one thing that's gonna, be the broken faucet that just starts pouring, people over to Amazon. But I think that there's a cumulative effect, and I think that's the thing for any author. There's two things that you have to be comfortable doing. It's putting out a quality product. There's no shortcut. It's got to be awesome. If it's not awesome, people won't read it. But more importantly, people won't talk about it. And you'll never hit your numbers one at a time. You have to hit it because they tell 10 people. And so we're just trying to hit influencers who are going to say, look, this is awesome, and you got to check it out.
So, but what's interesting is, do you have influence? I mean, I've seen that you operate largely in a similar space that I do, like social media, marketing, and stuff like that. But it seems like for something like this, so we have a great conversation about business models, and I'm sure a lot of people are really fascinated about the book itself just because of this conversation. And but it seems like the real big influencers that could make a huge impact for you are not guys like me or Copy Blogger or Brogan or whoever else may be, but they're the fiction review blogs, or like the big book bloggers.
Yeah, and those are hard to break into.
Yeah.
So one way that we're going around that is right now we have there's a certain quote from a certain person that I really want, and I think if I get that quote, it'll open a lot of doors. And it's somebody who is in film and television, and they've done work with serials before, and I think this quote would be really powerful. And I happen to have a friend of a friend who knows this person, and I've been trading emails with their assistant, and it looks very promising, and I'm really, really excited because I think that's just the kind of thing, it's leverage, because then people take it more seriously because this big name is behind it. So then we could take it to the fiction blogs and say, yes, But the resistance we've had with fiction blogs so far is that they like to have print copies, and we do plan on putting the full season to print, but we're not there yet, so we haven't even been able to start that process. But also, there's a long line. I mean, they'll say, yeah, we'll review it, but it's 6 weeks, and we're trying to move faster than that. So yes, we have to do all of that stuff. There's no doubt about it. But I'm hoping that this name will help, and that's the thing. It's like whenever you have something to promote, you just got to be scrappy, because my strategy is going to be different than your strategy, and you have to say, what do I have? What assets do I have? What connections do I have? What strategy can I come up with? Because you can't ever look at somebody else's strategy and adopt it as your own, because you don't know their end game. You don't know all the minutia of their lives. And so if you have to look at like I know, okay, I mean, immediately when I thought of this person, I thought, I wonder if that person knows them. And so that was the trail. And we all know different people, and we all have different connections. And, I know a lot of people who are really into the Goodreads space, and they would have a much easier time there than I would, but I'm just not there.
Cool. So just I'll put these links in the post below, but just share, like, where can people find it on Amazon? Is there a separate website? Where should people look for this?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, of course it's available on Amazon, and we'll have it on all e-readers really soon, but right now it is just Kindle. But we're also going to serializedfiction.com is kind of our home base, because Yesterday's Gone is just the first. We have a lot in development, and we're going to have a lot of titles. So serialized fiction is kind of like the model that we're following. So you can go to serializedfiction.com, and there's actually, if you're, I kind of think if you're in the space at all where you want to self-publish a book, it's a really good idea just to get. I mean, don't even spring for the full season if you don't want. I mean, it's $4.99, so it's totally worth it. But just start at the beginning, see the pilot, see if you're interested in it, because it's really worth following.
Yeah.
But we have something called the Goners. If you want to be a Goner, then we're going to send cool chapters that aren't going to be available on Kindle. They're just for the Goners, and they're going to have like backstories and cool stuff like that. But beyond that, you'll kind of get an inside look at the way we're marketing and the way that we're putting it all together, and the way that we'll eventually get to our 10,000 units.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. So I mean, if you're hanging out in this conversation, it sounds interesting, and the story sounds good to you, go ahead and pick up the copies. But also for like, there are a lot of people in my tribe who are authors, and actually probably a lot more who are aspiring authors, but they just can't figure out how to get rolling, and then how to sort of like connect the dots. And if you're that person, watch what Shawn is doing, because he's doing some amazing stuff. And I would go out. I would honestly go out and just buy up the first. What's the whole first season now? Like $10, $5?
$5, $4.99.
Right, just go buy the whole first season, so you can just sort of like pick apart the process and see what he's up to, because it's kind of it's a really fascinating process to be able to get your own stuff, and it's always, if you can spend $5 and just basically learn from what Shawn's doing instead of spending the last couple of years figuring out and experimenting, trust me, it's way more efficient. It's a better way to do it. So, Shawn, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and good luck with this venture. It sounds really, really exciting.
Thanks, man. It's been great.
Peace.